Hello everybody, my name is Rana Mall and I'm the Executive Director of Transitional Youth. I'm excited to be here tonight because we are celebrating 30 years of serving young people in the Portland, Vancouver Metro area. We couldn't do this without you. We have 30 years of history, 30 years of serving kids on the streets, 10 or 12 years of serving kids in homes, and about 5 years now of serving kids in youth apprenticeship. We couldn't do this without you. And so thank you for joining us tonight. We're excited to share some really amazing stories, real life stories of our young people in our homes and our cafe in our community. So 30 years ago, Bert and Susie Waugh founded Transitional Youth. It started off as a support to other agencies in the area working with kids in downtown Portland. And a couple of years in, they decided to open up their own drop-in center. Several nights a week, a team would gather and serve kids meals, provide clothing and hygiene items. And over the next 20 plus years, that's solely what Transitional Youth did. Thousands upon thousands of kids have been served in that 20-year span. And about 12 years ago, Transitional Youth opened up its first home. Today, Transitional Youth has 4 homes. We have the Ritz Family Ranch in Yacolt, Washington. We have Vida's Ark in Vancouver, Washington that serves young mamas and babies. We have Fortify in Wilsonville, and we have Harmony House in Damascus. We also have Breaking Cycles Coffee and Bike Shop in Portland that we serve young people 14 years old to 21 in youth apprenticeship. But I'm excited to say today that we have kind of reinvented what that outreach can look like. And the name of our outreach now is called One by One, which is also the theme of this banquet. W-O-N by O-N-E, One by One. We believe that God wants to use us, one person at a time, one community at a time, to win one youth at a time. We believe that we can be a part of that. We believe that our youth can be a part of that, and we believe that you can be a part of that as well. So one by one, what if we, each of our homes, Breaking Cycles Coffee and Bike Shop, we just step right outside of our door and we circle that block in prayer. We circle that block in picking up the garbage that's on the streets. We circle that block in meeting the needs of our neighbors that are in need, whether they're housed or unhoused, getting to know our community. What if every church in this community were to step outside their own front door and circle the block, praying for their block, meeting the needs of their neighbors, picking up the garbage? It seems to me that all of a sudden the church will be outside the walls being the church. And I know if you're like me, the growing need around us is absolutely overwhelming. As we drive down the street and we see garbage on the streets, we see camps. It's overwhelming as the garbage begins to just mound up. It feels hopeless because we don't know what to do. And so the Lord has given us a unique idea just to take care of our own block. Instead of running downtown Portland or to another community, we can be the church right outside our own front doors. And we're excited because we feel like this is a powerful way that we can call our young people that we're serving into action as well.
My name is Bronwyn. I've been at Harmony for about a year and a half, and in that year and a half, I graduated school from being a veterinarian assistant in March of 2021. And then at the end of March, I graduated the TY Wheelhouse program. So my life before I came to Harmony House was, I don't want to say pretty normal. I mean, I went to high school, I graduated, and then once I graduated, I started working as a house cleaner, and then I found myself homeless on the streets of downtown Portland. I want to say for about 4 years, on and off the streets of downtown, and then got myself an apartment, and I got involved with some roommates that were not a good influence, and so I lost my apartment, and now I'm back up on the street.
My name's Josiah. I grew up in Southern Oregon, came to Wilsonville about 2 years ago, and have been with TY since then. So I was 19 when I came to TY, and I came to TY straight from juvie because it was my last about month in juvie. I was trying to find a place to live, couldn't find anywhere to live, and so with my case manager, my parole officer at the time, they said, you know, we're looking for a place to live, but if there isn't a place to live, then I'll have to see what my options are. And so we're looking at independent living programs and all that kind of stuff in my hometown. And for the longest time, I wanted to get out of my hometown because it just wasn't a good place. It seemed like, no matter what I did or what I tried, I would always kind of get stuck in one way or another. And last week in juvie, the case manager came across a program called TY out of nowhere, and then it's kind of like 1, 2, 3, and suddenly I was in Wilsonville, and I was like, okay, well, I guess we'll try this out, see how this goes, and it stuck, and since then it's just been nothing but good and helpful.
My name is Olivia. I am 22 years old, and I've been at Harmony House for 7 months. I lived in a very toxic and abusive family environment. I went through a situation in which I was incarcerated for a week. I was evicted from my family home. So I was facing being on the streets, and place after place that I went, I was couch surfing for several weeks to a month. And each place I went, I ended up getting kicked out until I reached out to my best friend and her family, which graciously opened their home for a week and helped me figure out what my next steps were. And that's when I learned about Harmony House and Transitional Youth.
My name is Anthony Young. I am 23. I'm going to Multnomah University over on the east side of Portland. I've been with TY for like 3 years now.
I've been with TY for like
during my time at Multnomah, I met this lady.
I'm Melissa Guzman. I'm from Wisconsin, and I'm 22 years old.
I'm Melissa Guzman. I'm from Wisconsin, and I'm 22 years old.
In January 2020,
I transferred to Multnomah University in January 2020.
In
and met Anthony.
2017, I was living in Aberdeen, Washington, doing a lot of drugs and getting wasted and going to parties. And my brother was with Transitional Youth for probably 2 years. He had ran off out of town, and nobody heard from him for a really long time, and then we got a call from him saying that he was in a program down in Portland, and and that's the first time I heard about Transitional Youth. And then for like 2 years, he just bugged me about coming down because he knew the state of my life, and he knew that everything was pretty bad, and that I was with a pretty bad girlfriend at the time, and had stupid friends, and was doing stupid things. So it was kind of a progression of letting him pester me for 2 years, and my life starting to crumble more and more and more. And finally, about midway through 2017 in July, took the invitation to come down to Oregon and have been with TY since. Now we're sitting in 2021.
So, the 4 homes. The Ritz Family Ranch is in Yakult, Washington, and sets on a few acres there, and then up against Royal Ridges Retreat Center, which is a summer camp for Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, church groups. Our young men live in the home and literally walk across the street to Royal Ridges and work 5 days a week there. It's an amazing partnership and a great way for our young men to learn job skills, showing up on time. They start with a Bible study in the morning, and they chop wood, they build fences. They're actually helping with some of the camps too. There's a rock wall there, there's a ropes course, and they're actually working with some of the kids that come onto the property, which is incredible. We also have Vida's Ark in Vancouver, which, as I mentioned, is a house for young moms and babies, right across the street from Hudson's Bay High School. And we are able to serve these young moms and their little ones and give them a safe place to stay. The truth is, a lot of these girls don't have any other options, and if they're a teenager and they come into custody, sometimes the young lady will go to a foster home and baby will go to another foster home. And so this truly is an opportunity for our young women to learn to parent and become healthy parents and really setting them on a completely different trajectory. We also have our house in Wilsonville called Fortify. We've been out there for about a year and a half. We're on 50 acres, lots of room to grow, lots of room to develop. We have young men out there that are learning how to garden and prune trees. One of the really wonderful stories is as we got out there to that property, the trees were overgrown. And as our young men have begun to get their hands dirty and work with these trees, with a tree service that has partnered with us and learning how to prune them back, they're actually producing fruit at this point. Each young man has their name on a different tree. It becomes their own. And then we have Harmony House in Damascus, where we serve young women. And this is also on a significant amount of acreage. And the beautiful thing is it's also tucked up against Echo Ranch, which is a horse rescue. And so our girls, 5 days a week, are able to go down to the barn and work with these rescued horses that have been broken and abused and neglected. And what they find is their stories are a little bit familiar and very similar. And as the horse is being healed and transformed, so are our young women. Also under the umbrella of Transitional Youth is Breaking Cycles Coffee and Bike Shop on 33rd and Powell, where our young people, 14 years old to 21, come in and learn job skills in the lines of barista work and bike mechanics. One of the beautiful pieces that happens there is that we're able to partner with the school system around us, Portland Public Schools, where counselors at these schools identify young people in the classrooms who are either homeless or struggling with other things in their lives, and they invite them to become a barista or bike mechanic at this cafe. All across Transitional Youth, lives really are being transformed. We know them by name. We know where they've come from. We know what their challenges are today, and we're excited for a hope-filled future. We believe that each one of these young people are hand-chosen by God for great things, and we want to encourage them. We want to be champions for them. We want to speak truth over their lives so that they can understand their value. And so each of these homes, the thing that is consistent is a live-in house parents, where it truly is a family feeling. It isn't an institution. It isn't so much a program, but it really is a home. And oftentimes our kids are learning for the very first time how to sleep in a bed, how to put their clothes in a chest of drawers, how to sit at a family table and have a meal, how to communicate, how to love. The growth that's happening in these homes is truly life-changing for so many of our young people.
Being in a program like this and being surrounded by the people that love what they're doing, trying to help young people get back on track, it shows a bit of, for me, it shows me that there is actually kindness in the world. Because being on the streets, there's not a lot of kindness. There's a lot of people, even people who weren't homeless, that just didn't treat you right. You know, they just wouldn't care. So being in a group like this and surroundings where you have people in your corner and trying to support you, it felt great to have that finally, and people who were willing to walk through the troubles of what I've been through and try and help me just kind of better myself. I'm exiting the program on September 15th. And what I would say to Linda and Tony and Rana and Doreen and everyone who's been here is thank you for believing in me and pushing me to do better and just encouraging me in more ways than I thought, and just welcoming me and making me feel like I can be accepted and have a family and that I love you guys.
My experience coming into Harmony House for the very first time, I felt a sense of relief wash over me with the fact that I was no longer going to be at risk for homelessness and having to face the fears of being on the streets. It felt nice knowing that I had a bed and a roof over my head and someone who could help me be able to get ready to start my life on my own.
Yeah, over the past 2 years, I've put in a lot of work. I've done a lot on the property, and I've been really intentional about being honest with myself and seeing what I have done and haven't done. And I think it's kind of a metaphor, because when I came to the fort, it was just a mess. Like the orchard, there's 2 apple orchards in the fort, and they're both totally overgrown, and they had blackberries and dead stuff all over them. There was a field and this fenced-in area, which we didn't even know about. We didn't know it was there at all. Now it has 2 goats in it and a shed, which we built, and we uncovered it from blackberries and all this stuff. Like, we didn't know it was there. It was so overgrown. And in all that time and in all that work, it's gone from a house that was just decaying and getting overgrown with moss and ferns on the roof, and didn't have a porch, didn't have a deck, didn't have, a whole bunch of stuff. Like the doors in the basement were rotted out. And now there's a sliding glass door, or there's like food that was rotting in these old jars. Who knows what it was? I don't want to know what it was. But we cleared all that out. We cleaned all that out. We restored the whole house, and we pruned out the orchards. Got chickens in there now. Really good eggs. Got goats. I don't know what they do, but they're cool. And we've restored the whole property, and for me that's been a kind of an internal metaphor, because it's shown like, if you put in the work, if you put in the time, if you put in the dedication and the love, and if you just have that vision of beauty, maintain that vision of beauty, you can really create something which seems improbable. Like, we had 1 orchard, and I was content with cleaning out 1, just pruning it out and getting all the dead stuff out there. I was totally okay with that. I never thought we would get to the second one, because the second one was just so bad. I didn't think it was possible, and I was content with just having 1 orchard cleaned out. Now they're both cleaned out, and now we have plants growing everywhere and a community surrounded around the fort in a pretty short amount of time. It's taken a lot of work, but it's been, like, literally there's been a lot of fruit. I mean, the plums are great. So it's been inspiring, because it shows me that if you have a vision in your mind, or if you have, a vision in your heart, and you see that, you feel that, you're aware of that, and you stick to it, that you can really do something with that. It's not just a dream, a pipe dream. It's something that can become a reality. It is already a reality, but it can really become your reality if you live into it, if you're aware of it, if you're dedicated to it, and then if you're faithful, gracious, merciful, if you just continue to walk in the right direction, a lot can be done. And I'm telling myself that too, because it's easy to forget. So
I remember in Wisconsin, and this is a year or 2 before I ever knew about Multnomah, I was on a run, and I was praying. I often pray when I run, and I felt the Lord say something along the lines of, "Are you willing to be with someone with a past?" And I had never had a boyfriend, and I certainly had never done drugs. And I remember feeling angry. My first reaction was anger, because I was like, I have done the work to keep myself from that way of life. No way. And as I kept running, though, my heart began to grow tender, and I had to realize, and this is before I knew Anthony at all, I was like, if this is, and I didn't even know if God was being serious, but I was like, Lord, if this is real, it's like, I wanted to be in a relationship, and I was just like, more than I want to be with someone who fits my version of perfect, I want to be with who the Lord has for me. And it was a challenge in the beginning. As I heard more about Anthony's history and how that impacted me, hearing the things that he had done, that he'd been with other women, and again, he was my first boyfriend. I really had to come to terms with the gospel and decide if it's true. Because if I believe the gospel, it means that Anthony's a new creation, and that the old is gone, and that the new has come, and that he's not that man anymore. And he's made mistakes in his Christian life, and so I've had to believe that too. Is the gospel still true in that? Is there still redemption for that? And there absolutely is. And being raised in the church, I think I grew numb to the gospel, and without Anthony, I may have stayed numb to the gospel. But being able to see the gospel in action, realizing that he is a new man, and that 3 years ago, he was not the kind of guy who I would want to be with. And 3 years ago, I was not the kind of woman that he would want to be with. But it's only because of Christ that today, we stand 4 days away from our wedding, and that we are meant for each other. And it's only because of Christ that we're going to continue to be meant for one another. And yeah, Christ is the reason for Anthony's transformation, but Transitional Youth is the avenue that Christ used.
And so we're honored to become a part of a family, a greater community that is rescuing and restoring young people. And the truth is, we can't do that without you. And so we want to say thank you so much for partnering with us in this work, whether it be giving financially, whether it be praying for us, praying for these young people, whether it be taking a week out of the year or a day out of the week or 52 weeks out of the year, whatever it is that you can give in your time. The truth is that we need you. We need the community to rally around us and raise these young people that deserve to know their identity is precious and valuable, and that we can speak the truth over them and see the trajectory of their lives change. So as we close, and you're wondering what's your part, I would ask, how can you love? How can you give? How can you invest? Maybe you can open up doors for us in helping us get into a church that we can come share some of these stories. Maybe you have a profession to share. Maybe you have a skill set that you want to come alongside and teach a young man carpentry. Or maybe you're a musician and you want to teach guitar. Or maybe you're good with making jewelry or art. You can come alongside one of our girls and teach them. Or maybe cooking classes or budgeting. So we thank you for your partnership. We thank you for your time. God bless you, and good night.